Hi all. So when I was doing the last video, part of it was stripping all these bits off the carb. I mentioned a few times ultrasonic cleaner. So I thought I'd do just a little video showing you the ultrasonic cleaner and kind of what it does. This is sort of before pictures. You can see there's a sediment and stuff in there. These little jets. You can see on the outside there's a fair bit of there we go, deposits and stuff. So although we can see through that, it's by no means completely blocked. It's not going to be great. And when you then think of these, the little tiny ones. So if we got that on the outside, we've probably got that on the inside, that tiny little hole. I think we can just see through it, but it's not going to be great. It's certainly not going to be the size it needs to be. So we're going to put it through the ultrasound bath. These things are not massively expensive. I have this because when we used to do kart racing, it was really important to keep the carbs absolutely clean. But now I also use it for cleaning transponder cases up, so as people get their transponders back all nice and clean. What you do is obviously you have water in this thing, and then you put a solvent in as well. Now, this is one of my tips: don't fall in the trap I did. So when I'm doing the transponders, I use this stuff, general purpose cleaner, all great. It is nasty stuff on alley. I put in bits of carb and it did really weird things to the float bowl. So if you're going to do it, buy some of this stuff. It seems to be much gentler. It still cleans them, but a bit more gentle. So what happens is you put up whatever the ratio is of this stuff in with the water, which I will do now. Stuff's all a bit too big to do it all in one go, so I'll drop these in first. And then once we start the thing, sometimes you can actually see the sort of dirt floating off. So let's turn it. Right, so by the fact that the water looks a funny colour, assume it's done something. So you can see most of that horrible rubbish is gone. Which I know you could have easily done that with probably soap and water or even a bit of carb cleaner in these float bowls, but what I couldn't do is I can't do that with the jets. Okay, so what I'm going to do is actually I don't really want to put the jets loose in the bottom, so I'm actually going to use these as a little bowl and put the jets inside these to make it easier to fish them out. So that's had about 10 minutes. I just filled that up with fresh water because you need to give everything a good rinse off after to get all the cleaner off. So most of the time I just use running water, you know, the tap, which I will do for these, but obviously what I don't want to do is wash a jet down the drain, because that would be really bloody stupid. So I'm just going to leave these in some fresh water for a little while, and then we'll have a look at them when they come out of there. And I'll give these a clean under the tap and put the floats in, which is probably a bit daft, as obviously the floats are going to float, aren't they? I'll leave them in there for a few minutes and then see if I can flip them over, a bit like making donuts down the fun fair. So that's the inside of the floats after being in the ultrasound and being given a good old swish around with fresh water. Seems to have got rid of most of it. I just hope it's done the same with all the jets and needles and stuff. Putting it all back together again later. Hey all, It's a mucky old day today, so my plan is to spend most of the day in here getting the rest of that back together. I did some work that I didn't bother videoing, so I've given the downpipes a nice spray of very high temperature paint. I've flushed nice fresh fluid through. Better than that. Woohoo! Nice brand new clean fluid. So I flushed those through and got the carbs all back together again. Carbs on, look at that, nice and clean. I gotta say, that K&N cleaning stuff, that worked an absolute treat. So I've done that. Jobs to do next is, so that bracket, I said before, that bracket just came off that I put on the top of there. That's the oil cooler. It's an oil cooler for Bandit, if I remember. Bracket doesn't need to be that strong because I've got really good brackets on the bottom. And I don't know why, when I made the bracket before, I've got these lugs here that don't seem to be used for anything. I need to just double check that I can use them, that the tank doesn't come down that low. But I reckon what I can do is just make a bracket that wraps around there. So I'm going to try the tank for size and see how we're doing. So that's the tank on, and that's easily clear. Sometimes I sort of look at stuff and I think, why the hell didn't I do that first time? Anyway, I don't know. So what I need to do is measure across there. And I'm just going to use a nice bit of alley strip. Doesn't need to be particularly strong, as I say. It's held pretty well, and I had a little change of mind on that bracket. I got a bit of this, a little bit of L shape to it, so it's a bit more rigid. So I'm going to cut that into shape. That's my little bracket made up. So 8mm holes to go into those on the side. And 6mm for the nuts holding the oil cooler on, so I'll just put riv nuts through those. Job's a good one, I reckon. Should do the trick. Yeah, that's a new little bracket on. Nice and firm. It's not going anywhere. Now time to get the exhaust back on. It's going to be very close to first start up. Oh, I suppose I need to put a battery in before I can start it up. Exhaust all back on again. All looking a lot better than the rusty oldness it was before. Okay, so don't have any oil in there yet, so probably best I put some oil in before I think about starting it. Hi, thanks for getting to the end of the video. If you're not already subscribed, please do so now. Just hit the subscribe button and then hit the bell button, and that way YouTube will tell you when there's any new videos. We've got some big plans ahead for the channel, including possibly a car build from scratch. So if you want to get involved with that, now's the time to subscribe. Cheers then, bye.